How do you think women can play a greater role in promoting democracy in Armenia?
Well, goodness. In this case, I think there have been many studies about how when women develop, the whole country develops. Because when men move forward and make more money and develop, sometimes that contributes to the family's development, to society's development, and sometimes it doesn't. But there have been many, many studies that have shown that, that when programs are geared towards women, it's the whole family that benefits, not just the woman, and that society as a whole benefits. So I think one of the ways to sort of bolster the role of women is to aim more programs at them, ensure that women get the education that they need to play a strong role in civil society, but also in government, in universities. I know there are many women who pursue careers in universities, but there are many, many other fields as well where I think women could really play a leading role.
What is the USA's interest in the opening of the Armenian Turkish border?
I'm asked that a lot. You know, why, and more broadly, I'm asked why, you know, why do we invest in Armenia? Why are we here? Why have we spent almost $2 billion over the last 20 years? And at the end of the day, it's because, it's for two reasons. One reason is that we have a large Armenian American population, and many of you are in the audience today, and they care about Armenia, and they talk to our politicians and our leaders, and we are a democracy, and we're responsive to that. But the second reason is that we think it's in, well, I guess there are three reasons. The second reason is that we think it's in our interest, and thirdly, we think it's in your interest. We think that if you are, you know, and I go back to what I said at the beginning, and I think again at the end, we believe that if Armenia is a prosperous country, if Armenia is a democracy, if Armenia is a secure country, that makes a better partner for us in the region. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for better partners, whether it is for trade, whether it is because we have many American citizens who want to travel to Armenia and we want to make sure that they can do so safely. For any amount of reasons, we have an interest in ensuring that Armenia is free, prosperous, and secure. And so, you know, the logical extension of that is looking at where there are tensions in the region, and one obvious area is Turkey-Armenia. As I said before, I completely agree with President Sarkisyan that to have a closed border in Europe in the 21st century is an anomaly. And it does not benefit Turkey, it does not benefit Armenia, nor does it benefit the region. And so, so we have put quite a lot of emphasis in trying to bring both sides together. The governments through a negotiating process, although of course the Swiss had the lead on that, and also civil societies. We have a fairly large program and are about to announce an even larger program that includes exchanges for civil society to come together so that people have an opportunity to talk to each other. I believe that here in Armenia there's tremendous ignorance about Turkey, and it's because people here, for the most part, don't know Turks, don't know what is happening in Turkey. And the same thing is true in Turkey. In fact, there's even less knowledge, I think, about Armenia in Turkey. And so when there's a void in one's knowledge, anything can fill it. And so I think it's important to have face-to-face contacts, whether it's between institutions such as universities, whether it's at the teaching level or students, to create dialogue, to create friendships, to create ties, to understand that in fact, it's my firm belief that there are more things that bring Turks and Armenians together than keep them apart. And it's important to work towards that. Especially for Armenia, because an open border, I think, would in many ways, of course, be difficult. There would be many challenges, and not every business will flourish and prosper, but many will. And I think overall, for the country as a whole, businesses will have to become more competitive because they will be part of the international environment. And overall, more businesses will have profits leading to greater GDP growth for the entire country as a whole. And so that's a big plus. If the border is open, there's more security in the region. And that's good not only for Turkey and Armenia, it's good for all of your neighbors, and it's good for the U.S. too. So there are many reasons why we think that an open border is a positive thing. Obviously, we understand that it's difficult. It's difficult for both sides, as we've seen over the last year. But I remain convinced, and Washington is convinced, that both sides do want to move forward. And so what we need to do is find the way to help to make that happen.
How can you assess the influence of the embassy, the U.S. Embassy, on the human rights issues in Armenia? And what is the role of the universities, if any, in this case, in such issues?
Let me take the last question first. I think that universities have huge responsibilities. I'm looking at all the rectors here. I think you all have huge responsibilities because universities are the place where learning takes place. I say this as the daughter of two teachers, not at the university level, but at the high school level. It's where people are exploring ideas. It's where they're developing. It's so influential to people's outlook for the future. And so I think universities have a huge role to play. During my youth, there was a movement to get our university to divest itself of investments in South Africa, which at that time was practicing apartheid, keeping coloreds and blacks separate from white people. And many students, took a stand on this. Many students in my university took a stand on the big political issues of the day as well. And I think that students in Armenia and teachers in Armenia also have a role to play in the future of this country. And because universities are sort of the place where ideas so often are formed, I think universities have a special place. As far as the role of the U.S. Embassy in this, it has been a central plank of U.S. foreign policy for decades, human rights, and our belief that every individual has the right to live in freedom and with dignity. And we believe that is true in the United States. We believe that this is a universal right around the world, and we want to be a country that stands up for that. And so embassies around the world, whether it is through our human rights report, whether it is through our dialogue, which may be a quiet dialogue with the government, whether it's working with civil society groups, funding human rights organizations, making statements when we see injustice, we take a number of actions, and we do so here in Armenia as well. We have, I think, an incredible staff at the embassy, both Americans, and we have even more Armenian staff at the U.S. Embassy. They are the ones who, have the historical knowledge of what has happened 10 years ago, and they are often the ones who take that message to the government, to civil society groups. How does one, the hardest question, and it's always the hardest question, is how do we measure what our influence is? It's hard to know, especially on something like human rights, on democracy issues, because there are so many intangibles there. And I think it's an important question, and honestly, I don't really have a good answer for it. What I can tell you is that when we talk to the government about particular issues, we do get responses. So, for example, right now, I mentioned in my formal remarks that right now the government or the parliament is debating a new law or amendments to the law on the media, on television and radio. So we think it's really important that, that this law provide for full transparency for how these licenses are issued, and also that diversity of opinion is ensured on the airwaves, because that's the way you're going to get your information on elections and also on many other issues as well. I guess the last thing I would say is that the U.S. Embassy, other embassies, international organizations, we can certainly provide support on all of these issues, but at the end of the day, these are Armenian issues. It's up to you. It's up to your elected representatives. It's up to your government. It's up to, but it's also up to you to decide whether that law on media is a good law and this is the way you want to go, or whether you want something different. And I think we can provide a supporting role, but at the end of the day, it's an Armenian issue and it's an Armenian decision. And so at the end of the day, I think the real question is how effective is civil society on some of these issues.